Thank you, Dean. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:01. Could I please get a roll call?
Jack Sapia.
Attending.
Gavin Whitworth.
Here.
Katie Newton.
Here.
Greg Sherwood.
Here.
Sally Manthorn.
Here.
Kristen McCormick.
Kristen Savage is, I don't know where
Kim
she is.
McCormick.
And Kim McCormick is an excused absence.
Yes. Bree Whitworth. Kirsten Polakane.
Yes, here.
Everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Student, staff, and family share. Who do we have this evening?
So, Steve, you can come in and kind of introduce what we're going to see or hear or learn about tonight.
I am so happy to be here tonight. I'm Steve Ferris, assistant principal at Atkinson Academy. With me tonight, I have members of our student council, and they're all behind me, and they're going to come on up in a moment. And I believe I have to hit Alt and what?
Hey.
So I'm going to have the students come on up. They work so hard behind the scenes at school. Come on up, guys. They work so hard behind the scenes at school, kind of supporting all those different things that kind of happen, the fun things at school. So we wanted them to come and have an opportunity to kind of share what goes on, and we'll get going with that. So without further ado, we have one of our students, and they'll all introduce themselves. But we have one student who's going to get us started. Where'd you go? There you are. Come on over.
Hi, my name is Haley McGee. Thank you for having the Atkinson Academy Student Council attend tonight's school board meeting. We would like to share with you some of the things we have done this year. The Student Council 5th grade representatives are Eden, Leah, Cole, Thomas, Zach, Zayden, Christos, and Micah. The 4th grade representatives are Oliver, Lucy, Livia, and me, Haley. Our advisors are Mrs. Murphy and Mrs. Donnelly. Zach and Oliver will start by talking about Spirit Week.
One thing about Student Council is that we love Spirit Weeks. We did 2 Spirit Weeks last year, and we have done 1 this year so far, and are planning on doing another one at the end of the year. I enjoy seeing everyone's reactions to Spirit Week, and I think it would be great to host one more for the school community before the end of the year. So for Monday, we have Beach Day, so we're going to dress up in whatever beach outfit you'd like. Sports Day, you'd wear a jersey or something to represent a team. Wednesday's Crazy Hair Day. Thursday's Tie-Dye Day, so you can dress up in a shirt. And then for Friday, we're going to do School Spirit Day, dress up in the school colors.
Good evening. My name is Zayden Stover, and I'm in 5th grade, and this is my first year in Student Council. Last year, the Student Council decided that they would raise money to buy pug nets to be used out at recess. So some of the money from the penny war was used to buy the nets at the end of last year. This year, we began to use the nets out at recess. They have been well received by all the students. It is the responsibility of the 5th grade student council members to take them out on the playground each morning, and it is the responsibility of the 4th grade student council members to make sure they are brought in each afternoon. I have enjoyed being on student council because it has given me the responsibility to make sure 5th grade's voice is heard.
Hi, my name is Rika. I am a student council member at Atkinson Academy. Student council has organized a food drive in the fall. We work with the Lions Club to collect and donate food, toiletries, and hand warmers for the veterans and people in need. Classes did a challenge to see which class could get the most points. Each food and toiletry item was worth 1 point, and hand warmers were worth 5 points. Overall, we really helped people in need of items and made an impact at Atkinson Academy. It made me really happy to be in the student council because I want to make a difference to the school Running a food drive was a perfect way to make an impact for me.
Good evening, Timberlane School Board members and Timberlane community. My name is Ian Patrici, and tonight Leah Ricketts and I are here to talk about what we accomplished with Compassion in Student Council this year. One thing we did was make our own bookmarks to hand out in the morning to advertise a contest and you will tell you more about.
Hi, this is Leah Ricketts from the 5th grade Student Council at Atkinson Academy. This year in Student Council, one of the many things we accomplished was a compassion poster contest to have our school community focus on the meaning of compassion and what it means to you. We had an anonymous vote voted by the teachers and staff at the Atkinson Academy, and the top 3 winners of the 2024 Compassion Contest were Lucy Southergale, Sawyer Adams, and Ryan Cerny. Good job, you guys. Being a part of Student Council this year made me feel like I did many things to help my school community. That made me feel good. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Southergale. I'm a student council member and I am in 4th grade. This Earth Day, student council rep spent recess time inviting students to join us in planting zinnia seeds in small cups to take home. We helped students plant their zinnias in Dixie cups and shared Earth Day facts. The poem said, "Happy Earth Day. No job is too big and no action too small. The care of the earth is a job for us all." I've enjoyed being a student council member this year. I feel that since I have joined student council, I've been more responsible. I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Hi, my name is Olivia Belango, and I am in 4th grade. This is my first year on student council. When I knew that I got in student council, I was very excited. One of the events the student council organized was Earth Day activities. As part of the Earth Day, student council came in early and greeted the students and passed out Earth Day bracelets as they entered the school. The bracelets had inspirational Earth Day quotes.
Hi, my name is Cole Oliveri.
My name is Thomas Jenkinson. We are in 5th grade at Atkinson Academy. This year, one of the events we have planned is to continue our tradition of the Penny War. It will be happening May 20th through the 31st. Each class competes to raise the most money.
Students bring in coins to add to their grade level bucket. The grades that raises the most money will be given a small reward.
Grades pre-K to 5th will be participating in the Penny War. Last year, we raised over $1,700. We donated some of the money to nonprofit organizations, the PTA, and to order pug soccer nets to be used at recess.
This year, we are planning to raise even more money and donate to local charities.
Thank you all so much for coming, and you all are so very well spoken. Does anybody have any comments or questions that they would like to ask them?
Just real proud of you, man. You guys all came so prepared. Even Mr. Sapia is never that prepared. Good job.
So I gotta tell you, you guys did things that made meaningful difference, and I'm very proud of you. Because I watched on the news this morning, a high school student council group, and I'm not giving you any ideas here, but they hired a bagpiper to follow the principal around all day long. So I'm not giving you ideas, but you guys did things that made a difference. So I think that's really cool.
Remember, you want to move on to the next grade next year?
Great job, all of you. I know it's super intimidating to speak in front of people, especially when you know it's going to be on TV. Your speeches and your talk points were spot on. It was awesome. Congratulations. You'll remember this forever. I do have one question. I think it's for Micah, is it? So which class ended up winning? Who raised the most?
I actually don't know.
Okay,
Sorry.
leave us hanging.
She knows though.
Last year, I think it was 3rd grade.
Okay, there we go. So this year's 4th graders then. Well done.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Shauna, and then, sorry.
So I'm blown away by all the things that you planned and accomplished in like 1 year as student council members. So I'm curious, how often do you guys meet, and who is your advisor, and who helps you plan these things?
We meet like every other Wednesday, and the Miss Murphy and Mrs. Donnelly are our advisors.
Thank you to Ms. Murphy and Mrs. Donnelly for connecting with these students after school and helping them make such great accomplishments that, like Mr. Sapia said, better the school community. Well done.
Thank you guys so much.
These are our leaders in the future. These are gonna be our middle school and high school leaders, some of them just in a short few weeks. I did also wanna note that our teachers, even though they don't want me to say anything, are our kindergarten teachers. So they've been part of these kids' lives for their entire time at the academy.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Let them clear out first and then we'll get started. I'm telling you. Right. Right. Next is our student rep.
Really great to be back, and it was super cool to see those student council members. Being in student council myself for 7 years, I can confirm it's a very special group to be a part of, and they do make great differences in the schools. This week, it was Teacher Appreciation Week across the district, and the schools celebrated our educators with raffles, breakfast, luncheons, flowers, and more. At Sandown Central, Kira from kindergarten had a great day on May 10th, being the principal of the day. She met with Sarah from facilities to help plan placement for some of their new outdoor materials. At 12:30, she made the decision to go out to the swings and take a break from all the hard work of the job. The play-based learning from the Regional Education Laboratory program was at Sandown Central on May 16th to take photos and video footage of Mrs. Dessou's kindergarten class as they engaged in their play-based learning. Ms. Dessou joins 2 other New Hampshire teachers selected as model play-based learning classrooms. The kindergarten classes are attending the Play at a Twist Scientist at the Stockbridge Theatre in Derry on Tuesday, May 21st, and their pre-kindergarten classes are gearing up for a walking field trip to the Sandown Public Library. Sandown North had a wonderful summer reading kickoff on Wednesday, where kindergarten through 5th grade students participated in an all-school assembly, and then students had the opportunity to choose 2 new books to take home for summer reading. North's grade 1 parent night will be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Danville's pre-K and kindergarten students were visited by Wildlife Encounters, where they were able to see and interact with several unique animals. 3rd graders visited the Great Bay Discovery Center recently and learned about marine life in an estuary. PTA will be hosting the Sweetheart Dance tomorrow evening at Danville Elementary. Grade 4 will be visiting the State House in Concord next week. Some events at Atkinson as they close out May. 2nd grade will have a walking field trip exploring their town next week. There will be a kindergarten play next Thursday, May 23rd. And the Night Owls lip sync will be at the PAC on May 24th at 6 p.m. Pollard also had some end of May events that are coming up. On Monday, the 20th of May, there will be a Timberlane Regional Middle School Assembly at Pollard for 5th graders as they prepare for 6th grade. On Wednesday, the 22nd of May, the grades 4 through 8 orchestra concert will be at 7 o'clock in the PAC. Next Thursday, the 23rd, there will be a 5th grade field trip to Lock Hill. The 7th grade social studies classes have been wrapping up their Make a Difference projects, and the second parent viewing time is tomorrow morning from 8 to 9 in the TRSB cafeteria for Team 7C. 8th grade ELA students participated in their 2nd annual slam poetry contest that was hosted by the great host, Anthony Fabo, who worked with students in the lead up to the event. The high school orchestra, band, and chorus concerts took place this week, and they were great. AP testing at the high school will wrap up tomorrow, and testers can find the results in June. Tonight, the Milkmen will be having their final show of the year, and they'll be sending off their seniors. The high school's Fab Friday, that was created by the Student Council, will be tomorrow, and it is a crazy hat day. As we wrap up the year, there will be a series of banquets and inductions for our sports and honor societies. Next Thursday, there will be a senior assembly as they're preparing to wrap up the year. On Friday, May 24th, prom will be taking place at the Atkinson Country Club. And with our spring sports, a lot of the teams are looking to be in playoffs this season. And there will be no school on Monday, the 27th, as it is Memorial Day. And then just to update on my status as the representative, as my term's ending, I made the decision to not seek re-election with this position. I wanted to thank all of the board members for being so welcoming and supportive as I stepped into this role. I really enjoyed all of the skills and just the experience that I gained from this time. I think this is the best decision for me, as next year my plate's going to be really full. I'm already holding multiple positions within the school. And as of now, there will be an election held in the fall for this position, as a representative was not elected this past cycle. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. You'll be very missed. Right. Next is delegates and individuals. I believe we have 4. Linda, do we have any more? Is this it? Okay. First up is Brian Boyle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just before we get started here, Kristen, wish you the best. Kristen, I believe this might be your last meeting, and we served together for about 6 years. And,
It was fun.
well, and again, thank you for your service. It's a lot of work. A lot of work to sit up there and understand. So I watched the meeting a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't live, but I guess I watched it pre-recorded. Recorded afterwards. But a couple of things came up that concerned me. Things that I wanted to just briefly touch on here is surplus and staffing. I'm sure the bulk of this board saw the surplus number of 11.1 million for the first time, I'm guessing, at that meeting. Last year, which is a very, very large number for Timberlane. Last year, you had a pretty good high number, was 5 million. So 11 million and change is a lot of money. I live in Atkinson. Tough to follow a student rep and an Atkinson student council here, but they did a great job here tonight. My town of Atkinson, 2 of the last 5 years did not even pass its operating budget. So right now, the town of Atkinson, we are running on a default budget, which is $400,000 less than our proposed. We run about $7 million a year. On my way out the door, when I sat there a couple of years ago, we had a warrant article, which I'm grateful the voters passed, a $25 million performance contract. So the district got to put a lot of, $25 million worth of repairs and improvements all throughout the district. Right now, they're about halfway through that, I believe. And so when I look at the budget, having sat there, you have, and I think I mentioned superintendent, I ran from a week ago to actually town hall. The Timberlane School District is fortunately very well funded right now. If anything, you have $11 million surplus. You have 6 union contracts, so the bulk of your employees are covered by contractual past contracts. So you don't have to worry about monies for any employees. That's all taken care of. You really don't have to worry about facilities money right now because, again, the voters gave you that $25 million, plus there's always a couple $1 million in the operating budget. So I'm asking you to strongly consider returning those monies, or the bulk of those monies, because I'm sure you've heard from other people. Now, when I did sit there, and I don't remember the exact year, but I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, the board we served on, we lowered the operating budget by $2 million. And how we did that was we eliminated positions that really were unfilled for at least 2 years. So instead of over budgeting, we didn't eliminate. Obviously, there's always going to be open positions. You have several hundred employees that work for the district, so by design, you're always going to have open positions. And from what I understand right now, you have 74 open positions. Some of these positions, some of these functions have been filled with consultants, and from what I understand, they're at a higher rate than an employee. So even if there was an employee there, your surplus would even be higher because you're paying more for this consultant. So I hope that the board, and by the way, you don't have to make that decision tonight, the next meeting, or even the following meeting, but it's very important for the board to address open positions before the next budget season because they have to be carried in a default budget. So whether you fill them or not, the only way to, only this board can create positions and can eliminate positions. So I ask you to keep that in mind, and I wish you the best as you take this thing on, but again, as I said, I ran into the superintendent on a whole other matter that for the town of Atkinson, and you have the good fortune that this district, as of right now, is very well funded. And if anything, it's overfunded, and you've got taxpayers just feeling some pain. So I just wanted to reiterate that, because when I've sat there and I've heard it from people, how people like to tell me about Atkinson, and it's like, well, don't tell me about Atkinson, because Atkinson didn't touch its budget this year, and we're gonna run the town.
No, I want to recognize him for his work last year. It had nothing to do with this.
So I don't even, and then, by the way, I'm still around if, I understand there's different committees and committees. If you need my services, construction, whatever, just let me know, and I'm a phone call away. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Next is Carol Hillard.
Evening. My name is Carol Hillard. I'm a resident of Danville. I've lived there for 33 years. I'd like to address the school board respectfully and request that we, the taxpayers of the Timberlane Regional School District, would immediately like the return of the approximately $11 million surplus of the present school year budget ending June 2024. $11 million is an amount beyond a reasonable amount of error, and this is the taxpayers' money. The fact that the school board and the school budget asked for $89 million when there was $11 million in its account is stunning. It needs to be returned in full and not spent down on last-minute, unplanned, and unnecessary district wants and last-minute projects. You school board representatives are elected by we the people. We are the taxpayers of this district. You need to have our best interests when you're voting and approving monies that belong to the taxpayers. And we don't feel that this is happening. At the deliberative session in February, $6 million decrease was proposed to offset the insane $89 million budget on top of the $6 million teacher contract budget. Clearly, if the citizens at the deliberative session were aware that the monies in the district had $11 million left over from last year's budget, the $6 million decrease could have easily been accommodated. And why are we in a $25 million lease when approximately half of that could have been covered by this $11 million? There are people in the district, especially in Danville and Sandown, that are in threat of losing their houses and are actively trying to sell their homes at this time because of the exorbitant tax increases. And now this seems to be happening year after year. And we do not feel that we are being listened to. We are requesting you respond to our emails and our pleas. We are your constituents. You have awoken a sleeping giant with the continued spending and lack of transparency. Many more citizens are now getting involved in a citizens tax impact group. We are starting to attend more meetings regularly and sending emails to the board. I have sent 2 emails to the board in the last month. I only heard from 2 people, Ms. Knudsen and Ms. Savage. The other people did not have the courtesy to respond to my emails. And I'm not the only one. $11 million in the coffers is an awful lot of money. The fact that the school board does not respond to the constituents speaks volumes. You are representing us. Spending money, other people's money, is easy. This is a community of middle-class working people. It's time to tighten the purse strings. Tennis courts, LED signs, nighttime lighting for tennis courts, signage for children that know where they're going into school does not impact students' academic and learning. People cannot afford this reckless mismanagement of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars. It has to stop, and we will be watching. Again, I'm requesting that the approximate $11 million school budget please be returned to the taxpayers as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Brian Smith.
Good evening. So I've been attending the last several board meetings. I wanted to touch on a couple of quick things. First, regarding the continued delays on policy DJE, the excuses about figuring out how to handle purchases of pencils and paper really ring hollow. If this board was really concerned about proper oversight of bidding and purchasing, you would waive any standard procedures, make and pass a motion to revert the policy back to the way it was before the changes to the bidding and quoting thresholds, and then have the policy committee proceed with its review process. Secondly, when the budget surplus was being presented at the last meeting, an analogy was made comparing it to household personal finances. Immediately thereafter, the exorbitant increases in expenses and spending were blamed on inflation. This also rings hollow. When everyday people are impacted by inflation, they're forced to find ways to save. Needs are prioritized over wants. We don't get to use inflation as cover to spend money with reckless abandon and simply stick a bill in our neighbors' mailboxes. I've reviewed the capital improvement plan project list. Considering the current burden that taxpayers in this district are facing, the fact that there's a pending line item for $3 million solar panels is outrageous. That's a want, not a need. With all that said, this board should vote down any proposals that would use unassigned funds and return all $11 million to the taxpayers that you represent. Thank you for your time.
Sheila Lowe's.
First, I want to say, hey, Kristen, 0 more meetings. I knew you'd appreciate that.
You started the countdown for me a month
Countdown,
ago.
0 more meetings.
Thank you, Sheila.
Couple things. What I heard, the questions and the statements that were made after the surplus was announced. I'm going to reiterate what I sent a year ago in an email. Get a budget class. Get a budget class. Get the New Hampshire School Board Association, get Barrett in here and have him show you what this budget is and teach you how to do a default. Because the budget year ends June 30th. The new budget starts July 1st. Secondly, you cannot spend what you have in surplus this year on something that was not voted into the budget. So no, we can't have full-time pre-K. We have to go through a warrant article for full-time kindergarten. We have to open up the articles of agreement. We can't take leftover money and fund something that was never in the budget. Doesn't happen, the answer is no. Some of the things that were said though, like the teacher's contract. Anybody who's been around knows if you vote in March, the contract starts July 1st. This has nothing to do with the teacher's contract, it's this year. And I just couldn't believe some of the statements or questions that were being asked, to be honest with you. Especially some that have been here for years. It just blew my mind. Time to reduce positions. Get 74 positions open. The list that you have right now in your agenda packet is only professional positions. You also have all the paras that are in there and everybody else. We, as a board, even when Metzler was here, we could not fill every position. It never happened. We had to contract out just like you're doing now because the people weren't there 7 years ago. Kristen can attest to that. We went through a lot of money for that, but we could not hire the people, especially now in the shortages that are seen across the country. You're never going to fill those positions. You're putting a burden on the taxpayer that doesn't need to be until you can find people for these positions. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. The other thing, I read some of the executive summary for facilities. I don't understand why you need a material farm. Everything you're doing out here is going to bid. The softball field being fixed is going to bid. The lawn mowing is going to bid. Line being put down is going to bid. Beautification is going to bid. It's going out. We don't need to hold the materials if everything is going out. Let them do the materials. There's no reason at all for a material farm here. It's crazy. The other thing I had was we need to get that surplus back. You have people that are trying to make up their minds right now whether they're going to sell their house or not because of the crazy increase that happened in December. And then We had a surplus one year of $4.1 million and we almost lost our rocker. Because it never got that high. Never got that high. This is insane. This is like unprecedented. And I've been here 32 years in this district. Never seen it before. It's big. But you're breaking these people. So maybe a motion now to return 8 million of it until your audit is done in September. At least give these people some peace of mind that they know they're not gonna take another big hit. I look forward. Oh, the other thing. Why is it that we're worried about a canopy at the middle school? We know the canopy's gotta come down. It's breaking, it's cracking, it's a menace. It's gotta come down. But why are we only worried about the high school students getting wet? We don't have a canopy in front of the middle school. We don't have any canopies going from the high school to the back, from the middle school to the back. We don't have any canopies at the elementary school. But we're worried about a canopy over the high school because we like curb appeal. I'm sorry, it's not necessary. Let's just stop. Stop with the stuff that makes everything look pretty and let's get down to it. Start taking care of the inside of the buildings. I've been sitting back waiting for a catastrophe. Because there's always a catastrophe, there's always jobs that Maria and Kyle will come to you at the beginning of June and say, look we got all this extra money, we need to do all this stuff. You're already talking about pushing the school year out because you have so many projects going on over there. Nothing should be happening. The biggest project you have right now are those roofs, the HVAC, and all of that you had to push out of school year. You shouldn't be doing anything. You should be taking care of that. They gave you the money to repair the buildings on the inside. Do it. But I don't believe, and I will attest to Jack on this, you need documentation on these floors. If they're really what Kyle is saying, then get the documentation to prove it. You get your documentation too, as far as the asbestos floors, because I think that's the latest catastrophe that we're gonna have. We just had those floors done 20 years ago. I agree with you, Woody. Absolutely. So what's going on? Let's get some documentation to back up people. Am I out of time, people? The only other question I had was, there's one more question.
Sorry, Sheila.
Sorry, but one more question.
Go ahead.
In that facility thing again, we're contracting Banwell Architects through EEI for, I'm assuming, Sandown North, the build out that has been talked about since 2008. I guess my question is, why didn't we do this through the board and we go through the architects that originally did the plans for Sandown North? We had an architect do those plans. We have those plans. Why didn't we go back to the original architect and why did we involve EEI in that? Anybody? And are we paying EEI for them to offer us the architect? Is that part of their commission? I mean, I don't understand why we had to go through a different architect when we had plans and we could have went back to the same architect. We paid for them. So that was my other question with that. DJE, we had that number lower than what you have it at now at the 20,000. We had it at 10 and 5, I believe, Sandy, you probably remember that. It was Jennifer Silver that lowered it. There was none of this. If you had to do curriculum, superintendent came and said, hey, we only have this one company that does curriculum. Can we have it? Board votes? Sure, go for it. This never happened. It's so mucked up that it's a little insane to me because how did we do business before this? But we did. So that's all I've got.
I have a motion to move the last 10 minutes of the delegates and individuals to the end of the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Jack, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dawn, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, abstained. Yes, sir. All right, next on the list is approval of the minutes. We only have one set. It's the May 2nd board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 2nd minutes.
We have a motion by Bree, do you have a second? Second by Dawn, any discussion about these meeting minutes? All's in favor? Opposed and abstained, 2 abstentions. All right, next on the list for current business is new course curriculum proposal.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So in your packets, you have an executive summary and all the associated documents with a new course being proposed for the high school summer program. The name of the course is Adventure Education. Really what it is a PE course that's gonna be condensed down as far as time span in the summer and run specifically, to get to adventure education. It's gonna utilize the ropes course, and the culminating project for the kids is gonna be to plan and carry out a hike, hopefully in the White Mountains. So it's an opportunity for kids to take and get PE credit in the summer, and to do a course and to do some activities that they typically wouldn't be able to do in the fall, or in the school year. Through the process, we brought it, through the teachers writing it, through the entire health and PE department looking at it, making sure that it aligns with everything that they're doing. We looked at it in a K-12 continuum, and it's the same competencies, the same content standards, and then we brought it through curriculum and assessment committee, and now we are bringing it here to you tonight.
2 questions. First, what is PE's credit and hours like during the school year?
So it's all PE classes are half a credit. One piece is it's not just about seat time, it's about meeting those competencies. So, if you look at during the school year, I can probably calculate the hours if that's what you're looking for. I know this one is very much a condensed hours, but again, it's not about the seat time and hours, it's about the learning opportunities for kids, and it's about meeting those competencies.
And then second question, do you have teachers willing to teach during the summer for these courses?
Yes, so we have the teachers who typically teach PE in the summer are the ones who actually wrote this. Years ago, summer PE used to do some, they used to do like a biking trip or a surfing trip, and they're looking to come back and have experiences for kids, and they wanted to make it separate than a PE, intro to PE that we offer during the school year. So the teachers themselves are the ones who wrote this and who came up with this idea.
Don?
Utilizing the equipment and the ropes course and the things that you've developed over the last couple of years here.
Correct. Yeah, the ropes course that we got with a grant a number of years ago. Now all of our PE teachers in 6 through 12 have been trained on that. And this course is going to have the kids do both the low elements and the high elements, and things that they might not get to during the school year, just because of timing and things like that. So it's absolutely something that they're excited to bring the kids out to. I know that Katie Murphy and Mark Pasquini presented here about the ropes course, so they're really excited to get kids out onto it and utilize that equipment that we have here.
Excellent.
Any other questions? Yep, Paul?
I just want to speak to it for a minute. So I was present when we did this at the curriculum and assessment. And for me, I hope you all read this through this. It was presented very well. I'm not a curriculum director, so I needed to see that as how it aligns to the competencies and what we're trying to do with PE. It's a half credit, right?
Half credit.
It's a summer course. My impression is we have at least one teacher itching to do this.
I've actually had to hold them back.
If you read through this, and I'm speaking from my opinion and what I think, but it doesn't matter what I think on that part. This is awesome. There's a whole bunch of teamwork in here. If you read through it, there's problem solving. We're using a lot of the things that we already have. And to take a group of students, hopefully into the White Mountains, even if it's just somewhere in the White Mountains for a final trip to learn to use those skills. And for me this is the kind of outdoor activity that blends a lot of what Timberlane represented to my daughter and myself as a father. Was hiking and outdoors is a combination of you see folks in the arts and athletics and intellectuals and all sorts of blending of different backgrounds that get outdoors to the mountains, and I just think it's a wonderful outcome and that they learn a lot of things, and I hope you support it, because this is what we should be doing. We should be putting stuff down electronically, getting out there and just spending a day in the mountains and learning how to solve problems and use teamwork. This is a wonderful opportunity. I would imagine max participants 12 will be a problem.
We're hoping.
I think you would have a lot of interest in this, and I hope you do. So that's just my piece on this.
Anybody else? Jack?
Yeah, I think anything that has the kids exercise the mind and the body is such a positive thing. I did it for 3 days with my son last weekend. Lady goes jogging by me. She goes, I said, I should be jogging. She goes, yeah, but you're exercising this. All right. So this is great stuff. Thank you.
So it looks like we need two separate motions.
So the first is in the process that we bring curriculum through and new courses through, there's sort of the accelerated route where we get the course approved so we can at least start running it. And then the curriculum sort of follows. Like typically what we've done is it's the course description or the name, the course description, the competencies we're going to use, the units listed as sort of that first, hey, can we run the course? And then the rest of the curriculum goes with it. In this case, we actually have all the curriculum written. You know, in other years when we've done this, we've only maybe had the first unit written and presented to you. But in this case, we actually have everything. So to follow that same process, what we're looking for is a motion to run the course, and then a second one to do at least the first read of the curriculum documents.
Okay.
So it's really kind of up to you if you want to combine the two and just do it, but we just need at least that motion to run the course with the bare minimum, like I described.
I would like to make a motion that we allow you to run the course as described here.
Got a motion by Paul. Got a seconded by Jack. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained? All right, and then we'll need a second motion for a first read of the curriculum.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Paul. Thanks, man. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark and Katie are going to be very excited to run this. Thank you.
I'll report back on my experience. I'm joining them for that White Mountain hike.
I may join you too. See this.
I know. All right, next is enrollment update. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So you'll see in your packets an enrollment update for each of the schools. Any changes that we made at the last board meeting are already reflected in these. These are current numbers as of May 9th. The early childhood programs, I did continue to give you both numbers, both those who have finished their process of registration and are finalized and on class lists, but also to show you who has finished the online registration, because those numbers are much higher. So we're continuing to watch those two fluctuate. What we have tonight, just to highlight for you, is kindergarten at Sandown Central. Should all those families who have completed online registration finalize, which means they turn in their paperwork, deposit if it applies, then we would be going over maximum capacity based on our policy. So that's just highlighted there for you as an indicator.
And following up on that, knowing our hiring season, we're deep right in it already. I'm actively recruiting staff. We are projecting that we will be over max policy size in kindergarten. There could be one or two families that may fluctuate. You can see the numbers right there. So we're alerting you of this right now. We do have the option to look at repurposing a couple of the open and vacant positions that are in the budget. We do have 2.5 pre-K positions that we're looking at. And again, this would be because we would be exceeding maximum class size by policy. So it would be a policy-based decision. So we're letting you know now. Obviously, the sooner that we can make a decision of that nature, the sooner we can post and actively seek to hire a staff member. So.
I just had a question because all of them kind of calculate out exactly for maximum class size except Pollard fifth grade. Where there are projected 73 with a maximum class size of 25, but you're requesting projected number of staff 4 instead of 3. So I was just wondering what the rationale behind that was.
So at the previous meeting, we were
That was the decision,
Yeah.
yeah, that was made at a previous meeting to add.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
So with the likelihood of the Ks, especially at Sandown Central, what is it that we need to greenlight now to authorize you to repurpose those positions when we know we will need it, especially with this population in Sandown that may have a high percentage of identified students?
It would be a motion to redefine an open and vacant positions to serve the need of a full day kindergarten class at Sandown Central.
Great.
And then do you have the classroom capacity for that?
Yes.
Mark?
I would like to make that motion to redefine as needed to find that position, to fund that position rather. Okay.
Second that.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Dawn. Any other discussion?
Have we reached out to these people that requested but haven't finalized to find out, and are they intending to finalize?
They say they are.
They just won't do it.
They haven't done it yet. But we're still, I mean, the finalize is 18, 18, 18, so it wouldn't take that many.
To go.
Does this even count for the red shirts, the red shirt kindergartners?
So those at Danville and Atkinson have been approved and have been embedded in the numbers that you see. The 62 does include the 2 requests at Sandown Central, but obviously whether we have 3 teachers or 4 makes an impact on that.
Any other discussion? Seeing that there is none, there has been a motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. See this. All right. I'm actually gonna turn this over to Shauna because she is the policy guru. You're speaking a little bit to it.
All right, okay, so we have policy ECA, which is building and ground security. So the school board did approve this particular policy for a first read, but returned it to policy for further review because they wanted the revisions to include the authority, well, and actually this was part of policy committee discussion too. The way that it was worded in language was essentially that somebody could check into the office, and we felt that it was more prudent to have the superintendent, principal, or designee grant the authority for the person to be on the school grounds versus just having it be office staff. So that language was added as a revision to this particular policy to shore up that, so it would have no confusion and be more clear. And then for KI, visitors to school, again, this one was also approved for a first read by the school board and returned to policy because the original policy said school day. And that wasn't really well defined, and so it came back to policy. And so after a lot of conversation, we went with the language for posted school hours, so visitors to school during posted school hours. And the reason for that particular language is because every school has different hours. So the middle school and the high school have different hours than the elementary schools do. And so each school has posted school hours that are available at the front office, online, at various different locations, and that would align with folks knowing when they could visit the school based on that particular school's hours. And in addition to that, the policy committee did make the recommendation, although this wasn't part of the first read communication from the school board, but the term teacher was used throughout that policy, and we determined that it would be better suited to say school employee, because it may not necessarily be a teacher that is part of requesting to have a visitor or things of that nature. So those are the recommendations from policy for these two.
Thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions about these policies?
I do.
Yep, go ahead, Paul.
How does this play into somebody wants to run on the track after hours or use the tennis
So
courts
those would not be
after
during
hours?
posted school hours.
So that's covered on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanna make sure.
But that was part of our conversation for that exact same reason also.
Any other questions? So we'll make a three.
If there's a school event after school, does this apply or not? School dance.
So
That would be no different than no different than a baseball or
Right.
field hockey
Yeah.
game or,
Right.
I mean,
Those are pretty
Yes, but
carefully
one's
planned
also
out
inside
with
versus
chaperones and people at the door and
Mhm.
security,
Yeah.
police and whatever you need, so it hasn't been a problem, it's something we recognize as potential, and that's what the planning is, that the organization running an event like that has to go through.
yeah, we chatted about that at policy. There's a procedure that they have to follow to have those events and list out who would be responsible and who is attending and things of that nature. So, and it's a well-documented procedure, so I thought that suited that. But it's a good question.
Kristen?
Should we table this for a meeting since we have a safety committee meeting next week and just run it? See if there's any input.
For both of these or one of them?
No, well, both, really. Yeah, I mean, it's coming back to us now. I think it's worth having safety committee take a peek at it and talk about it and see if there's anything that they wanna add or whatnot before we just vote on this. Okay. That's my last meeting. Sorry.
I was waiting for you
Lots of
to
questions
chime
there.
in over there.
That's my last one.
Yep.
Just because I'm reading through it, and I think there was some discussion about like school board members, so I would just check in with Justin first. Is that
So we have a separate policy for us, I believe it's BHC.
okay, I watched that, okay.
Yep, and yep, you would have to come, like,
Check
just
in with
notified
Justin.
or call the principal of the school or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
I'll look at this or talk about this or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Yeah, we have a separate procedure policy for.
What was the will of the board? Do you guys wanna hold off and table these so that the safety committee can just look at them, see if there's anything else from a safety standpoint?
Absolutely, no problem. Well, I mean, I think that committee would be open to anything that they might spot, have them set on that committee. It's not like we're in a mad rush on this policy.
Not a set of eyes.
Bree and then Jack.
Well, I guess my question is, did policy have input from safety?
No.
No,
Jack,
originally, technically, yes, when you were on policy before we shifted over, but
but it
But
was
this
like,
has never been in
but
front of
this
safety.
has never been in
This
front of the
policy
whole
has been
committee.
found as
Correct.
safety.
Correct.
Originally, technically, I like that. We can always pass this, and if we find a somewhere it's gotta be tweaked and someone wants to come back to us, we can tweak it. I mean,
I just don't see the need, school year's ending. I mean, we have plenty of time, safety meetings next week.
yeah, true.
You can do this and approve it June 1st. It's not gonna change the school year at this point. So,
That is,
so is
she's
the
right.
board good with letting this go to safety next week?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then we will table these two policies for them, okay? Next is the summer hiring process.
Hey, while we're getting into the summer, we only have one board meeting a month. We're in the middle of our hiring season, so we have a policy that allows us to, in between board meetings, to send nominations to 3 particular school board members to approve. And then when we come back to the next meeting, they're brought forward, their names are read into the record, so it's all cover that. There's also the ability for the board to, by majority vote, to authorize just one board member instead of 3 to approve nominations. That's also a choice you guys can make. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Do you want to do the 3? Do you want to do 1? It just keeps us the ability for us to be able to keep hiring quickly, because, you know, when we don't wanna lose anybody while waiting for, you know, one board meeting a month to happen.
Yes, Jack.
I'd recommend, I'm okay with one, but you need an alternate, maybe with two alternates in case someone's away on vacation and, you know,
So
we don't.
what we did last year is that we had 3 people and
Right.
at least
I
2 of
remember
them
that.
needed to sign. That way we always had that one person. So
Sure.
that's what we did last year.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a good
With the 3.
Yes.
I think it's better than one because somebody else might know something or have a different question that not one person might have. So more eyes are always better.
Then do you also need for us to name the 3 people tonight as well?
Sure.
So I figured myself, Mark, and then Shauna, would you?
Sure.
Okay, so could I have a
Happy to do
motion
that.
for us to have 3 and then myself and Mark and Shauna would be the 3 designees?
I will make a motion for Katie, Mark, and Shauna to be our designated board members to authorize
Summer hiring.
summer hiring of professional staff during the summer months when the board is not in
Enthusiastically
session.
second that.
Motion by Bree, seconded by Dawn. Any other discussion?
Should we have an alternate, just in case 2 people happen to be away and it is
Last-
a rush to hire? No?
Last year,
Did that
we-
run into any jams
No.
last year?
I think that
last year
was-
we didn't.
I think I volunteered to be that person last year.
I was gonna nominate you to do that again, Don.
Happy
You have to come on.
I was just gonna say,
I think 3 of us, I think
Okay.
that's enough. It worked fine. We didn't have any holdups last year that we ran. Okay. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right, thank you, friend. All right, summary and financials of phase 2 of the lease. Is that Maria? Come on down, Maria.
Good night, everyone.
Hello.
So I just wanted to inform you that we are finalizing all the documentation for the second phase of the $25 million lease. We got a federal interest rate of 4.8%, which in this climate, as you all know, interest rates are through the roof. I think is a very good rate for this time.
Excuse me.
4.8.
Oh, okay.
The phase 2 of the lease is going to address, all the work will be on at the high school, is going to address the windows at the high school, the 25 HVAC units at the high school, and a portion of the roof of the high school. The windows will be a 2-year project because of the amount of windows that need to be replaced. That project is tentatively be completed by September of 2025. Timberlane Regional High School roof replacement. Again, this is one of the phases of the roof replacement. That is we're hoping to be completed by December of this year. The 25 HVAC units that are going to be replaced. That's the major of the work that is gonna be done this summer. That's why we have to vacate the facility. And that is going to be also completed hopefully by December of this year. And then all the controls and the valve replacements related to all these changes in the HVAC systems will be completed by April of next year.
Does anybody have any questions for Maria? Yes, Jack.
On the academy roof where we applied for the grant, it was just a thought in my little noodle here. Those 2 rooms upstairs is, I think you've been up there, or they're corroded, the plaster's peeling off the walls. Because it's a historical building, would we be eligible for grant money and could we incorporate, I know we've already probably have already submitted for that grant. But it would be nice if we could get grants to do that portion of it, because the grant is up to 50%. And I don't think we were thinking outside, but if we could, I'm sure we could use that space inside the building, those 2 beautiful classrooms. And it's pretty, the deterioration of those walls are pretty bad. So I just, if we can find money, that's a good thing. Right, so that's just something to look into, and I didn't know if you know the answer to that. And
I don't know the answer, I will have to look at it.
Thank you.
I know that initially the project for the belfry in Atkinson is just because it's under the articles of agreement that we need to maintain the
The integrity of the building.
integrity of the belfry. So that's why we're putting those funds towards that project, but the interest will be to allocate any other funds to that building.
Anybody else have any questions for, yeah, Jack?
Just- yeah.
Mark, I'm so sorry.
Just to follow up on Jack's question, so you're reading my mind there. So I know that EI was helping us in trying to get some sort of grant and offset for the Belfry as a historic. So to follow up with Grant's question, would it be worth floating it to them, hey, does that, are there any avenues for inside restoration on the same historic building? I think that's where you were going, right, Jack?
I think it's called an LCHIP grant, right? Do I have that right? And it's for historical buildings. I don't think it necessarily is outside or inside, and I think that entire building fits the purpose of the grant.
So it'd be worth asking the question.
We got, I mean, yeah, why not?
It would also be worth researching if we need access and we actually need those classrooms. Right, so
Right.
let's not be
Especially the-
looking to spend any funds on something that we actually don't need to be putting kids or staff or teachers in right now. So let us have some time to do maybe some space work. Let's work with the principal. Let's figure out if there's a need to use that space.
So
Yep.
to that point, I thought that may be a good administrative space as well as potentially a teaching space. Right now, it's being used for storage. The other thing is, it would be nice understanding the conditions of those walls. I mean, it's just something that we're going to eventually have to do, and the longer we wait to do it. And who knows if that grant money may be available this year or next year, but not years to come. So to ask the question, I don't think there's really a downside to it. And if we can find a use for it, I mean, it'd just be nice to be able to restore that money without using our money.
Just, do the articles of agreement pertain to the inside as well? No,
Just the
the
building.
outside.
Just the belfry.
Specific, just, okay, just the belfry.
Unless it falls through the classroom, then.
Yeah, it falls through,
The
you
plaster's literally
Those
falling
kind of
off the
things
wall. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
don't use them, right? You said storage. I haven't been in there.
But the two downstairs, yeah, go take a peek. It's worth it.
Any other questions for Maria on the phase 2 of the lease update? All right, thank you. Next is technology RFP evaluations.
Ken looking spiffy.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ken.
So in your packet, you will find two executive summaries. These are for two technology bids that went out recently. Both of these are for they're for 24-25. We put these out now so that we can get the equipment in and make sure we line up the work. The first one we'll do is the door video intercoms. This one was a sole bidder situation. We did put it out to emailed 16 different vendors and put it on the website, but we only got the one bid. I don't know if there was any questions about that or
Anybody have any questions?
to ask about the bid. The second one is go ahead.
Bree, hold on, Bree, go ahead.
Sorry, just
No, you're fine,
quick
go.
question. You said it was for the 24-25 school year, so is that in your fund or is this?
It is, yeah, so that's regular technology funds, yes, yeah, so it's nothing, it's in the proposed budget basically that passed.
Good, thank you.
Second one's for the Avaya IP office upgrade, which is the back end phone system. So it's a very dated old system that we're looking to upgrade. Was put in much, long before I even started here. We did get a few bidders on this one. We selected New Era Technologies, which we currently work with. They were the lowest of the two qualifying bids. Didn't know if there was any questions on that, looking for basically action to move on the proposed recommendations for each of these.
Does anybody have any questions about these two proposals?
Just one
Mark,
on the second one, under the scope of work for E&E security. I'm guessing this is just a typo. It's like the fifth bullet down, E&E security to provide a 1-year warranty in all parts and 32D labor. I'm guessing that's just a typo on their part, or is that some technology acronym that I'm just unfamiliar with?
Let me find out what page is that
Yeah,
on?
it's on their I'm trying to see what page it's on right here. I can't get my page numbers here. It's like the third page for E&E with the bullets under client information, scope of work. Page number at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. What do you want to on parts and yeah, I don't know what 32 is in there. It definitely looks like a typo to me.
Okay, just
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure.
Some new
I was- Yeah. Newfangled technology.
Any other questions for? All right, so we have to do two motions. So could I get a motion to act on contract with recommended bidder E&E of New Hampshire for the door video intercom systems?
So moved.
Moved by Shawna, do I have a second? Seconded by Mark, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right, and the second motion is motion to act on contracting with the recommended bidder, New Era Technologies for the AVA IP office upgrade?
Avaya.
Avaya, so butchered that,
Good
but thank
try.
you.
So moved.
So moved by Jack, do I have a second? Second by Mark, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Administrator's report.
Admin report, you wanna go first? I have 4 highlights from our schools and some positive news to share with you all and some opportunities that Justin and I have had to observe some great things involving students in our schools. So first up today, Justin and I were both at the middle school for the 8th grade poetry slam on Team Constituents, which is, if you ever have an opportunity to attend this and observe, it was awesome. It was fantastic. We had spoken word poet Anthony Febo, who has been in communication and working with our 8th grade team. Elaine Bennett, one of our 8th grade language arts teachers, has been doing a lot with slam poetry with her students for many, many years, and has had Mr. Febo in for a couple of years consecutively. So he came and did a workshop with our 8th grade students just this past Monday on poetry, and they had 10 student volunteers, actually 11, because they always ask for one student who would be willing to be what they call the sacrificial poet, who is the first up to share their poetry, but from a judging perspective, they're sort of your baseline. And then they had 10 poets who shared their original works that they created this week after going through this workshop. And their scores were based on both their writing, but also their performance. And all of their classmates were there supporting them, clapping, snapping. It was really something. So really proud of that, really grateful we had a chance to be there to observe it. Just really seeing some kids make some really great connections with their emotions, their learning, and sharing, which takes a lot of courage for them to do what they did today. So kudos to all of them. So that was just awesome. Another really positive thing to share with you all is that Tim Brown, who is our wrestling coach, let us know last week that the Timberlane wrestling assistant coaching staff, the entire staff, was named by the National Wrestling Coaches Association as the Boys Wrestling Assistant Coaching Staff of the Year for our state. They were nominated. Yes, absolutely. They were nominated and voted as winners by fellow coaches across the state of New Hampshire, who recognized our assistant coaching staff for their dedication to our student athletes. I did want to name those assistant coaches because they all work in our schools as well with our students. So coaching is what they do on the side. They're working in our schools during the day. So Tyler Fitzpatrick, Dan Woodworth, Sevi Burgos, Zach Champion, Brian Nickel, and Taylor Donovan. Just kudos to all of you. And, Coach Brown said that as a coaching staff, they do not really believe in individual accolades, but this is something really special. So congratulations to all of them. Next thing that I wanted to share with you that I also had a chance to attend last week, this time as a parent and chaperone, the Middle School Student Senate spent quite a bit of time this late spring preparing what they called a student fun fest, that they coordinated games that they built themselves, that they designed. There was face painting, there were raffle baskets, There was a pie eating contest, which was probably the most popular. And this happened last Friday after school. All proceeds went toward the Run of the Savages to contribute to their donation and funds raised that they'll be donating to, I believe, is it the Jimmy Fund? Yes. And so that event, in combination with, they sold some bracelets as well. They raised $1,500 for that really important cause. So it was great. The kids planned all of this themselves, and it was a lot of fun. It was really well attended by our students and their families. And then lastly, just want to share something. I know Armand spoke to this a little bit, but Sandown North yesterday, one thing that's been a really strong goal for our Sandown North team and Sandown Central has been their partnership and really collaborating, bringing students together to help with that transition and feel like one school town community. So they had their kickoff to summer event yesterday they had some live music. They were sharing up summer books with students. They got to choose their books for the summer. And we were really happy that our kindergarten students were able to join their future classmates in grades 1 through 5 up at Sandown North to be part of that. So it's really great for them to see some of their planning to have cross-school community come to fruition and see that happening yesterday. So just some things happening in our schools that we're really proud of. So good, great.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. 16 things on my end. We'll break them into 3 categories for you. First will be current, and the second will be looking forward a little bit, and then there's a whole section on RFP stuff to kind of talk you through. Some of them is just kind of presentation and information, and then some of it I will try to encourage some discussion of the board so Sandy and I can leave with some direction. In terms of current pieces happening, the board had inquired if we were able to seek out any multi-year contracts with specialized service providers. In fact, we are able to do that. And today was the first day that we made a decision to kind of lock that in. So a lot of discussion here about staffing and how difficult it is to find folks. One of those positions that has proved the most difficult is the speech and language pathologists and those people working with adaptive behavior skills for kids. So we are entering an agreement with an organization that we're not committing anything, but we're going to lock in a rate for both of those individuals over the course of 3 years. And we'll be able to contract on that rate despite whatever's going to happen in the market over the next 3 years. So we feel good about that piece moving forward. In terms of our own admin here, we're going to be issuing contracts to them very soon. Those are folks that are in collective bargaining agreements, but also are non-affiliated administrators as well. I'm going to use it as an opportunity to kind of have some FaceTime and a touch point with each of them. We'll talk about the contract, we'll talk about any revision of the job description, but most importantly, we'll have an opportunity to talk about some big picture stuff of all the reorganization that we've talked through at this table so far about where people are going to be, what they're going to be responsible for doing. That's important for me so the admin can kind of get into the summertime with a mindset that they understand what's going to be kind of heading our way in the fall, so that when they're doing all of that really critical planning with their teams over the summertime, they're doing it from a source of information and being informed about what the structure is going to look like in the fall. So I'm really looking forward to those conversations. An awesome piece of news to report out. Last year, at this time, we were looking at a number around 80 retirements and resignations. And this year, so far at this point, we've cut that number in half. We're only at about 40 right now. So a lot of good efforts have been made in terms of kind of stemming the tide. There was a comment this morning earlier today about the staff and the ability to acquire and keep a high quality staff here. Those numbers tell me that we're on that right pathway. Some discussion for the board at this point. We all understand our aging facilities. We had a boiler fail at Sandown North within the last week or two. We had an organization come out to kind of give us their update about what they see. It's a 24-year-old system right now. We were hoping that some of it was going to be able to be salvaged, that we'd be able to replace some of the chambers in there. Looking at some of those pictures, we were a little doubtful. I talked to some people on the board. It really looked like just a burnt piece of toast. That company's come out, Urquhart and Johnson, and they've assessed it that it is shot. There is no repairing to be able to done for that stuff. So we're now in a position where we've got Sandown North running on 1 boiler. Best practice is certainly 2 in the case of a tragic event that we were able to kind of kickstart that. So we're going to need to do some replacement there. There's a legal question that I need to investigate about. We still have funds in the capital line in the approved budget. I'm not sure yet whether we need to expend all of those funds before we can move into the emergency fund as a possibility for the board to consider. I'm going to report back that information there, but this group needs to be thinking about where is it gonna be coming from and what are we gonna be able to be doing with those pieces? Cause we're at the point now of replacement, we're not at the point of repair.
Do we have an approximate budget number? Around about,
For how much it's gonna cost to fix.
Everything from $150,000 to $200,000 to $300,000, I think it's gonna be time. We are asking the company that came out to assess it to write up a not to exceed quote. That'll help us and help Carl kind of guide the RFP process.
The second boiler, is that also 24 years old?
No,
It's
It's newer.
newer, right? 2017?
2000, no, I think it's 2000. I believe.
Okay. Less than 2 decades,
I'm
okay.
not, it's about newer than.
You knew where my mind was going, okay, good.
So I know that we have some CIP funding because we put stop to the football lights.
Correct.
So in theory, if we moved those funds to pay for this boiler, it would not impact the 11.1 unassigned funds because it's assigned to CIP.
Assigned to CIP.
And so we would still see that money maybe go back to the taxpayers, and this would not impact that money.
Also correct.
Jack.
it just, there's also an emergency fund there. So, am I right?
Correct, and I think what I need to look into is a legal option of can the board access that fund if there's still capital money that's sitting in the budget.
Do we need a meeting to vote to use emergency funds?
You would need to be able to vote on to do that, yes. The
Like-
first step for us is to put out the RFP and kind of see what we're gonna bring back as recommendations for you.
But if that doesn't happen by the June 30th, then we would lose that CIP opportunity to use those funds.
We need to have a contract in place by the 30th of June.
Jack.
Yeah, this for me, and you know, guys, how I'm so conscientious about putting everything out to bid. This is an emergency situation, which makes this, at least in my mind, you know, we can go out and get budget number, we can go out and get numbers from vendors to make sure that there is a competitive thing, but I think our bid proposal thing says everything's gonna go to bid for a minimum of 14 days. By the time you get that information from the contractor as to the scope of work to be done, and then you write the RFP and you take that 14-day period, you're right, Bree. We will exceed that June 30th to have that contract in place. So I think this is a little bit different animal. And I think we can always waive policy if we have to get the work done under that.
I just wanted to let you know that the emergency fund that we have, the $500,000, is only for this year. So if we're gonna use it, it needs to be used before June 30th as well. So we do have the June 30th limitation for both the capital funds and the emergency fund. Now, the emergency fund, as you saw in the unassigned fund balance, is part of that unassigned fund balance because it's going back to taxpayers. So the capital funds are not, because we were counting on utilizing the $1.8 million that we have in the capital funds. So I just wanted to make that clear, that we have the
So,
constraint of.
Sounds like the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out a dollar figure, and then we can kind of go from there. We've got some time. Yes, Jack?
Yeah, one last thing, I apologize. I think our constituents, I think the district understands an emergency situation. If something needs to be fixed that's broken, I think everybody understands that. I don't think there would be any disagreement on this is something that needs to be done, so.
It's a backup system.
Yeah, I'm very conscientious. I'm very conscientious about the situation everyone finds themselves in fiscally. We're all in the same boat, but we can't, the boiler is gonna have to be fixed.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this past calendar year, we did have some schools that were shut down due to inadequate ability to heat them because of boilers, correct?
That's why
Hence, that's why we kind of need the backup. My concern is, and it's uncomfortable saying it, this being televised, there is a question of optics here. And the optic is, this is by all means an emergency. I mean, if you see the pictures, it literally burned up. I would be uncomfortable having Sandown North reliant, next November only on one boiler that's over a decade old. And if that goes, then you have to shut down the school like we did in Atkinson, I believe it was. So this is, by most reasonable estimations, an emergency expenditure. But if we do take it out of the emergency fund, the optics will be, they just spent $500,000 out of that 11 million. They're spendthrifts. Yet most of the community would agree that, this is something that probably should be replaced. So I would encourage all of us to think about this and what it represents and how it is that we explain the need to expand those funds, whether it's from pot A or pot B. Ultimately, to the taxpayer, it doesn't matter, but one is a hell of a lot more visible than the other.
Well, what summer activities happen at Sandown? Anything?
Title I camp
Okay.
during the entire month of July. So 4 days a week, 4 weeks in a row in the month of July.
If something were to happen, that other boiler blew, do they have an option of going somewhere else, or is that it?
So would affect summer activities, the boiler would
I'm not
affect summer.
worried about the summer. I'm just thinking about the June deadline.
No, but I understand everyone's like emergency, but the thing is, school ends June 12th. So yes, there's one boiler that's going, yes, it needs to be fixed, but the first thing we need to do is have kids out of the building. So let's get a quote, figure out how much it's gonna be.
We have a quote coming as step one. Step two is to write an RFP for that quote, and step three would be to bring back a selected bid that we receive.
And
Shauna, then Paul.
sorry, and then in the meantime, we're gonna look into the student impact for whoever may be in that building.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Paul?
Yeah, I think it's pretty accessible, and I can't remember the year either, but there is the other one is newer. But just looking at the timeline here, I mean, essentially you got Friday the 28th from June, and if you go backwards from that, 14 days would be 14th. So we got like 3 weeks until then for Eckhart and Johnson to provide this quote, get an RFP written. We got time to get it in before the 30th to create some flexibility on what we end up doing. So this is completely possible. I mean, Eckhart and Johnson is very reputable and they can easily, they know what they're doing. This isn't rocket science. They know how to estimate a boiler. It shouldn't take them very long.
Yeah.
We might have time to get the RFP out there, get some good bids, go from there.
That bid process though is 2 weeks. So what you could do is you could restrict the bid to 3 or 4, you do an invite bid, right? Invite contractors in based on what that company comes up with, just to expedite it, not to go through that, that 14-day period. And that's done a number of times. So my question is, do we have to waive some type of policy here to allow the administration to go out, get 3 or 4 contractors to bid on this as soon as that company has that in place? I don't wanna wait 14 days, because if that contract isn't signed on the 30th, the work ain't getting done. And that's a question, not a,
Do you have something else, Paul?
I would say, I would think, when's our next meeting?
6th of June.
So we don't need to do that yet, because if we can get Eckhart and Johnson to get this bid
Yeah.
pretty quick, I think we might be in good shape there to not waive anything. But the idea is awesome, like if we had to be creative, but still honor the bidding process to get a good.
which I'm a stickler about
Value.
typically.
So sounds like we want to wait and see what it looks like.
Okay, sounds good. We'll bring that stuff back.
Okay.
Thank you for the conversation. Looking outward, a couple things or 6 things that looking forward. Had conversations about flooring because we got some work going on at the dark room over at the high school. We've had conversations here about the potential to look at concrete, but also some rubber flooring as well. So what we're doing right now on our end is looking at some specs and thinking about what material is best for what spaces in classrooms, thinking about noise level, noise reduction, sound traveling. what's gonna be maintained or not maintained over the course of time. After we get that stuff, Carl's gonna be setting up some visits for us at schools that are currently employing that type of flooring. So we're gonna do some on-site visits at that school, talk to the staff and kids that are actually using that, and we'll be able to come back here and hopefully report on some things that we're learning in terms of flooring pieces.
Did you have Jack
Yes.
and
So I think that's all great. I think we need to go through that exercise, but I would like to make a recommendation to invite Amy Russo from DES. She's the PFAS expert, and she's the head of that department. She offered to come in here with her team. Prior to that, she was the head of the asbestos department at DES, the Department of Environmental Services. Their willingness to come in, she says, we provide this service everywhere. Let's find out really what we're required to do, what we should be doing. Let's educate ourselves as to what the actual scope of what our needs are before we move forward. And I've heard so much contradictory stuff that I want to hear it from the experts. I want to hear it from the state. I want to hear, and it's good to know for future actually what our requirements are. And this is a health safety issue.
How are you spelling her last name, Jack?
Don't make me do
We'll
that.
find it
I'll
later.
send it to you. Okay.
Don?
Basically the same point. We had a little conversation about this at the last meeting with Carl, and there was a sense, that a lot of this work was done with the specific purpose of getting rid of asbestos in the floors throughout the building. Perhaps it is 20 years ago. And I would like to verify that we have that problem, because if it's some other way that we're getting a reading, we could be wasting a lot of money if we're going out and we're doing a building-wide fix for something that's been isolated in where it's been found. And it could be because of the way we've taken care of the surface, and some deterioration, that gives a questionable rating. Let's find that out. I just don't get it. That's all.
Yeah, if memory serves, there's something like 6 of the 18 sites tested for 2 parts per million, which I think was the threshold. And there is some uncertainty, so I would be in favor of having someone understand who this is their specialized purview. Tell us what our options are, tell us what the risk factors are. If we don't need to replace $2 million worth of floor tiling, let's not do it, or at least let's know what our options are. Whether it's the rubberized tiling or the burnished concrete. I think we need to have those questions answered first before we move on.
Sounds good. Continuing to look forward, the CIP co-chairs, Bree and Jack and myself got together. We're gonna hold our first CIP subcommittee meeting on June 10th. That meeting is gonna be at 6 o'clock. We've reached out to the individuals that have been appointed by the Board of Selectmen on those committee, and extended that invite to them, and also asked if they are not able to attend or don't have any interest in attending, then we'll continue to engage with the Board of Selectmen so we can have those community people kind of sitting on and giving us their input there. On the agenda that day, primarily is going to be mission, looking at the vision and mission of the group, looking at the current list. We're going to talk about procedures of how things come off and get onto the list, and we're going to have conversations around the funds that still sit in CIP in this current proposed budget year, and make some determinations of whether we want to bring anything forward to the board at that point or not. CTE regional agreement, I'm going to be bringing that to you in June. Just giving you a heads up right now. Again, this is the regional agreement with both Salem and Pinkerton that allows our students to attend CTE classes on both of their campuses. There has been a longstanding history in New Hampshire that those regional agreements were at 20-year intervals. It is a good thing for us on the receiving end as the customer there that is no longer the case. They're going to be renewed every 5 years, so I'm going to bring you the renewed agreement. One of the things to point out that's a Timberlane's advantage there is that we are also going to be allowed to fill in seats that are no longer filled. So what that means is each district that is part of that agreement has an allocated number of seats, say for automotive. And now what happens is if those seats aren't filled in those centers, we'll get some kind of email correspondence that way, and we'll be able to open up more seats potentially for our kids if we have filled our quota for auto. So that's kind of an advantage for the customer on that side. So look for that in your next packet, but we're looking for signatures on that in June so the regional agreement can get up there and we can get our kids enrolled in the fall. Also coming up, we have the executive director position that we discussed last time that is also now posted. Just to give you an update that we've got 14 candidates that have applied right now. We're gonna go through the first process of screening. We're gonna reach to those candidates directly that are qualified, at least minimally on paper, to receive something. We're gonna walk them through a process that we're gonna do some pre-screening for them, and then we're gonna start interviewing within the next week or two. So I'll bring back some updates along that regard. The unassigned fund balance, our next kind of scheduled time to touch on that number and the reasons for it will be the first meeting in June. So we'll be looking to do another presentation on June 6th to continue to keep people updated that way. This past Monday, we met with the ad hoc committee chairs for both the kindergarten and the early childhood learning committee. And I wanted to give some kind of takeaways from that time together. Really quickly, that group kind of understood that although they are two committees, they're really functioning as one. It's really about what are we going to do for our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds across this district. So as much as they're still going to function in those kind of things, they're going to have a whole lot more contact and collaboration than I even think we originally thought or intended for them to have. We have identified October or November when these committees will come back before the board and make their presentations to you. That presentation will consist of really two things. It's going to define the status quo for each of those. What is Timberlane doing now for these? And then based upon that research and what they've learned, they're going to be making some recommendations or some pathways for the board to consider. A couple other things that came out of that is that we discussed committee membership for both of those. Both of those committees are committed to reaching the community and having community people that live in as residents serve on those as well. They're also committed to doing some pretty robust community input. So even for folks that are not serving directly on those committees, there will be avenues to kind of get their voice heard that way. They've been tasked with looking at 4 specific things for their presentation. They're going to be looking at the fiscal piece of the puzzle. They're going to be looking at the staffing piece of the puzzle, the student learning piece of the puzzle, and also the facility piece of the puzzle. So with those 4 things in mind, that's going to drive their research. It's going to drive when they come back for recommendations. And again, we're looking at October, November to get some things in clarity from them. Any conversation or discussion about that? Because that's a pretty big component.
I mean, I thought that, we recognize that there's a lot of important information that we can learn from a lot of people that are doing the work in our town now. So by surveying, by having conversations, researching, we're gonna be able to really hone in on what creative solutions there are to get some, some better service to our kids, in an affordable way.
And just tack in that real fast, great synopsis, by the way. We are dedicated as a team, as a committee, to reaching out to our community and our community members to truly get input and have them be part of the process, be part of the committee as well. I'll be going to my BOS and updating them and asking them for recommendations, and or just opening it up to the general public for those who truly, have some hours to commit and to, want to provide their input as well.
All right, a couple things to report out on RFPs. There is a new one that just went out. It's for the high school canopy. There's a mandatory walkthrough on the 29th of May. And that RFP will close and we'll bring any potential bids back after it closes on June 18th.
Question.
Yes.
Is that to take it down or is that to build a new one?
It is I don't know that answer. I will read it and let you know.
That wasn't a trick question.
No, I'm trying to think of the title of it. I think it's written more generally in terms of exploring all kinds of options with it.
Because I would,
Both?
I would,
Thank you, Marie.
I would hope, thank you. I would hope that the board would approve any type of design. For me, at least, we researched, Mark, thank you, is he still here? The definition of the word Timberlane, which was the way the timber came through this region. And I thought, I would like to see the design before we approve anything. I mean, does that make sense? Okay.
Four things to report out that are currently kind of still in process. The band uniforms RFP is still out there. It's going to close very soon, tomorrow on the 17th. Bring back some options for you there. The HVAC controls and service is going to close shortly. That's happening on May 28th. So we'll look to bring some things back then. Then 2 things closing on the 4th. There's the cabinet replacements or remodel at Danville, and there's the varsity softball field. So we bring those back to you as well. The last RFP to touch on, it's one that is closed. It's for the paving RFP. We had one bid that was from Busby that came through, and it came through in the scope that we thought it was gonna be. And again, that's paving work at the middle school, at Atkinson, at Danville, and also at Sandown North. So we're looking for a motion to kind of let that be approved for that single bidder, and we'll move forward with that work. That RFP also included some ad alternates. We've talked through paving perhaps the walkway that's in the back of the grounds. We talked about the material farm and the road out there as well. So those are not things that are currently in the work order for the bid. There are things the board wanted us to explore and bring back a price point. Those, in addition to what we currently accepted or may accept as the bid, will run about $125 additional dollars if we wanted to move forward with those projects.
Okay. That was a lot. Anybody have any questions for him, Justin, at this point? All right. Next is our personnel report. I don't think, do we have anything, Fran?
We just had a nominations and resignations and
Want me to do my thing?
Yeah, do you think?
Sorry. Okay, sorry. I make a motion to accept the professional nominations of Elizabeth Reed, math teacher at Timberlane Middle School, Mary Cosio, grade 5 teacher at Pollard, Nicole Vacarezza, world language Spanish teacher at Timberlane Middle School, Amanda Feeney, special education at Timberlane High School, and Patricia Kennedy, special education at Timberlane High School.
Motion to have a second.
Second.
Second by Don. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained. Okay.
Make a motion to accept the professional resignations of Joe Ruane, tech ed teacher, Timberlane High School, Karen Reinhold, elementary teacher, Pollard, Rebecca Cook, special education teacher, Pollard, Sarah Gallagher, assistant principal, Atkinson, Laura Howell, grade 4 teacher, Sandown North, Karen Chiarella, social worker at Timberlane Middle School, April Foley, elementary teacher, Danville, Kevin Bowden, special education, Timberlane High School, and Lisa Petrie, guidance counselor, Timberlane Middle School, and thank them all for their dedication and service to the students of our communities.
Motion to have a second. Second by Don. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained?
Make a motion to accept the professional retirement of Amy Farley, world language at Timberlane High School.
Motion to have a second. Second by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstained?
Make a motion to accept the renomination of Ashley Leary, elementary education, Pollard.
Have a motion to have a second. Second by Bree. Too slow. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained. All right, thank you. Fran, anything else to report on the vacancies?
no, just the fact that we're actually able to hire a couple of special education teachers.
Oh, good.
Pretty exciting. We actually also hopefully will be making an offer to an SLP. Finding a world language teacher is exciting as well because those are hard to get. So I think that the administrators are doing a great job getting people in the door, and I think the new teacher contract's definitely helping.
Awesome. Jack?
Would it be fair to ask at some point in time, because we give all this money over to contract services, if we get enough special ed teachers, I would love to know what that equates to in a savings. I don't know, at some point in time, it just be nice to know about our successes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Right, thank you.
Thanks, Fran. All right, committee reports. Start with Paul.
We had the curriculum and assessment committee, and I think actually most of the stuff that we talked about, we voted on tonight. So that's, you've already seen it. That's about it, right? Yeah, so it's easy.
Bree?
Strategic planning met today. Yes, that was great. And they hit most of it, so that was awesome. For learning, the multi-tier system support is going to be rolled out. The Thought Exchange had a great response of 250 from March, and so we're looking at ways to engage the community more. Our personnel report is great, as we just heard from Fran, and our facilities is working on having a master list together.
Kristen?
Safety's meeting Tuesday. We'll go over the policies. We'll take care of that.
Fun Fest, I wanted to mention that. Sandy beat me to it, so we just wanted to thank everyone at the middle school that was involved in that. It was a great event and greatly appreciated by everyone from the run that they did that and made the run their cause. Also wanted to jump on what you said. You talked about the wrestling assistant coaches, and you said that most of them work at our school. I believe most of them went to our school, graduated from our school, and also went through the wrestling program as well. And Dawn could attest to each and every one of them. So,
Wonderful folks doing a good job.
so I just think it's pretty cool that, you know, they come back and they participate and they give back. So, kudos to all of them. And then lastly, touching on what Armand said, the end of the sports seasons are coming up, and we have 4 teams, I believe, the boys and girls lacrosse teams, boys volleyball and girls softball are all sitting high in the standings and likely will be having home games. So the campus will be buzzing with a lot of playoff games this spring, along with graduation and everything else. So I'm hoping people can get out and support all of these teams and all these kids. And other than that, good luck to you, Arma. That's all I got.
Shauna? Policy committee meets on June 6th. As I said at the last meeting, wellness doesn't meet until the fall. And then just for 2 quick board reports. So I had the opportunity on Tuesday, I reached out to Mr. Mensis to take an opportunity to go in and observe the unified PE class that the middle school is piloting this year. And so it's done during their advisory period. It's done right at 7:30 in the morning. And I know that my children aren't always the happiest crew early in the morning, preteens and teens. But I have to say, I was blown away by the work that was done. And when I say the work that was done, I meant by the students. So I really want to thank Mr. Balanoff, Mr. Petrie, and Mr. Wiedenfeld. Those are the PE teachers that are behind all of this. I believe Mr. W is the true catalyst of it. But it was the fact that they gave directives to the students and then the students followed through. And watching the inclusion, the engagement, the laughing, the high-fiving, I was like, if this is how these kids can start their day every day, how lucky and joyful that is, and what a great opportunity that all of those students have to be in there. And I encourage anybody. I was so happy all day on Tuesday, and that's how I started my day. First thing in the morning was going in and watching them play. It was absolutely phenomenal thing to see, and really encouraging to see, because I know those middle school years can get really hard with friendships and connections. And I saw just nothing but pure joy on every single student's face that was there. And they really have a lot of leadership among that group, that they take the initiative to get those kids included in the activities. So I'm looking forward to them continuing that program, hopefully with the support of the board, because it's just going to make that high school program that Kristen mentions just so much more robust. So wonderful for that. And then my last committee report was last night was a concert, high school chorus, guitar, modern band performances at the PAC, and it was amazing to actually walk in and see the Anthony J. DeBartolomeo Auditorium sign above, and that was recognized. That the official sign was there last night, so it was really great to see. So thank you all the folks that made that happen.
I don't want to follow that up.
So it's like, oh, Mark.
So yeah, part of the ad hoc committee for K and TLC, which Justin covered thoroughly, and also part of strategic, which Bree and Justin both covered. So other than that, I'm good.
Kristen touched on safety. As far as budget committee, we've not met again, but I do know that for the facilities visits for people to come and visit the schools and stuff, I believe is in works with the principals right now and September. But other than that, that's all I have. Don?
Everything has been covered very well by the crew. Yeah, very busy time, and a lot to look forward to in the next few weeks here.
Yes. Jack?
Covered like a blanket by Justin.
Any other business? Mark?
I just real fast, 2 things. 2 meetings ago, I believe it was, we had asked you to look at something that's been on some people's radar, the lights for the tennis court, and you going to look at the financial ramifications of potentially returning them to see the juice was worth the squeeze. I think I know what the answer is, judging by the evidence in the parking lot, but if you could, just talk
Sure,
about that. a
certainly
bit.
not worth the squeeze in terms of returning those lights with the shipping costs and things. As we looked at the rebate that we were gonna provide and the fact that we were gonna have in-house people installing them, it made sense to move forward and install them. We're hoping to have, we need, in terms of the tennis courts themselves, we're waiting for some temperatures to get right where they are so that company can come in and put that last surface down. And if we can get kids on that before the end of the tennis season, we'll be really excited. And if we're not able to, they'll be open for business for the community through the summer.
Excellent. Just
Yep,
one
go ahead.
last thing.
Yeah.
The last meeting, it was touched on this meeting as well regarding the unassigned fund balance. And so we're going to be providing a update on June 6th. And we'd also discussed a way for those who aren't watching on TV to have access, I think through SharePoint, so that it could be updated on the regular. Are we still on board to have that in the June timeframe so that? I think it was SharePoint, wasn't it? I'm going from memory here, so maybe it wasn't.
When you're talking SharePoint, you're talking like almost to have a ticker of the number itself, or are you looking for the public to be able to get in and see kind of the expense reports from the school?
That's what I'm looking for. So for example, if a boiler happens to burn up and we end up using $500,000,
Yeah.
200,000, 100, whatever it is, they'll see, okay, where did that money go?
Yeah.
So there's visibility and not missing.
That information is always available to people. It's published every 2 weeks. I would imagine that our presentation on the 6th is going to highlight any major changes from our last time that we were in front of you in early May.
Awesome. And remind the public where they can find that rolling update on the SAU site. Ken? Is Ken here?
Maria, can you check my breadcrumbs here? If people are looking for expense reports, it's under board.
They're under both the board, all reports, the board reports, so under the board.
Board documents.
In the website, board documents, report, financial reports, and they are also under the budget committee financial reports. So they're the same report, they're posted on both sides on the website.
Thank
the
you.
financial
Awesome.
reports.
Thank you.
And they have revenue and expenses. Just to remind people, the unassigned fund balance is all revenue coming in minus expenses. And the fund balance from last year plus revenue minus expenses, that is the unassigned fund balance.
Thank you.
Yes, Jack.
So, hate to push your mind at ease, I need to get out of here faster than anybody, but I gotta hit I got a 24-hour drive ahead of me. So, last meeting's facility report, there was approximately 150 items. And there's so much on there, I almost feel like we need to do a workshop because, and I'm just gonna touch base on a few things, the varsity softball field, we had an extremely rainy season this year. I mean, inordinate amount of rain, so we had an inordinate amount of puddling. But a lot of things in here are general maintenance, but a lot of things like laser shooting, the girls softball field, I have no idea how much that is, I don't know if we ever approved it, and those are just questions that I feel responsible to understand and know. As far as the lights go on the tennis courts, I think the board or maybe the administration can explain to us what the parameters are, how they're gonna be used during the summer. The light's gonna be on, who controls the lights? I'm afraid of, if we light up the courts down there, we'll have kids down there till 11, 10 o'clock. Are they gonna be off for the summer? What are the parameters in which we're gonna be, and I think that should be a discussion that we have at least. Let's see, what else? A couple of, and these are just the high points. I'd like to go over a whole bunch more, but the fifth in here is the fifth van. We have that would be 5 vans. We have 3 pickup trucks and a whole bunch of other and I've always said, if we need to buy equipment to increase productivity, to reduce labor costs, I'm your guy, because I understand that. But a 5th van, I don't know how many guys we even have working on in the fields. I don't know that answer, but that seems excessive to me, where we used to operate. I remember when they came to us for the 2nd van, it was like a big deal. So
I think to all of that, Jack, it's gonna be real beneficial when the facilities subcommittee can.
and that's why I'm not, but I'm not. but these are things that put in front of us, so are those funds gonna be expended? Is that the plan, or is it for the facilities to double back on this executive summary and say, okay, yes, no, this is what we're gonna come back to the board and recommend?
All of that stuff in there would fall into the same parameters that we're operating off of right now, that I am approving anything that's a $10,000 threshold or not.
I'm good with that.
And anything beyond what the threshold is for RFPs would go out to bid, and then we would be coming back here. So I think the quick answer to your question is no.
Okay. I hear that all the time. And one, sorry, trying to be funny, trying to be Mark.
I thought
Yeah.
this was a stretch.
The other thing I wanna just bring up briefly is we always hear about what we spend and what people aren't happy about what we spend. But I have a list here of somewhere between, depending on how you wanna look at it, $2 to $4 million of things we decided not to move forward on. And so I think sometimes this board gets painted with a broad brush, and we have said no to a whole bunch of things this year that would have been just as easy for us to say yes to. So I just wanted to bring that up so the public knows we're just not rubber stamping everything that comes in front of us, and we it's well thought out and well discussed. And there's gonna be times we agree and times we disagree, and that's what makes us a board. So there's a list here, and you know, it's tough to say no, but sometimes, you know, I mean, we're looking at the boilers, right? That broken down boiler, furnace, boiler, whatever. And because we said no to some of that stuff, we're not gonna be scrambling as hard as we would have. So that's it. Sorry, Katie.
That's good. Any other business? Do we have any other delegates or individuals? No, we don't. Before we go into non-public, because we do need to go into one. This is Kristen's last meeting, and just for me in general, I wanna thank you. You were the one who got me on the school board and all your help. Huh?
Is it
So you're
ticking?
thanking me?
Is it
Thank you for
ticking?
being here. It's fine,
Is it ticking?
but we all take it. Aw. Something. Thank you. Thank you. You've been great. Thank you. You're welcome.
You're supposed to open it now.
Yeah.
The pressure. Sorry.
What?
I know. I'm
You don't have
like,
to
I
open the
gotta-
card, but you can open the present.
Well, you're supposed to open the card first.
Nah,
I'll
open the
I'll
present.
open the card
You're
later.
as well.
All right. Is it a picture, Justin?
When you do the polar plunge, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Reading the Dr. Seuss stuff.
Flowers die, but you have a picture of us of your last board. I tried to find your original one, so you had your start and your end, but this is it. I couldn't do anything about Jack's face. Maybe you can put a sticker over it or something.
I didn't say that, Jack. Thank you. very
The bandwagon is long.
Thank you.
You'll be
It's
greatly
been
missed,
fun.
but good luck.
Thanks.
All right, could I get a motion to go non-public under C, Shauna? You always do that so well.
Okay,
She
sorry.
does.
I make a motion to go into non-public under 91-A:3 subparagraph C.
Need a motion to have a second? Second by Kristen. Could I get a roll call, please?
Jack Sapia,
Yes.
John Rivers, Katie Newton,
Yes.
Greg Sherwood,
Yes.
Shannon Mandel.
Yes.
Kristen Travis,
Yes.
Craig Woodward, and Michelle King.
All right, we will not be back, so everybody have a good evening.